Hello everyone, it's Davide here and welcome back to Learning Finance. In today's video guys, I want to talk about Alibaba stock because of the delisting issue that we have seen. But the video is not just about Alibaba stock, it can be considered for all the Chinese stocks, okay? So you know that if you follow my channel, I have a portion of my portfolio invested mainly in Alibaba stock and JD.com. But what I'm talking about in this video is the same actually for all the Chinese companies, okay? So whether you like Baidu, whether you have NIO, Xpeng, okay? So all these EVs Chinese stocks, because the situation is actually equal for all of them. So I wasn't planning about making this video because in my opinion, it is something that we already know, but I got many comments and messages about what do I think about this thing. Okay, so will Alibaba stock get delisted? Should I sell Alibaba? Should I sell JD.com? All this kind of stuff, which is absolutely understandable. Okay, it is not a good situation, it is frustrating, I absolutely understand that. So in today's video I will try to answer to your questions, and I will say you what I think about it, and also I will try to explain you a way to actually avoid this problem with the delisting stuff if you want. Okay, so the only thing I ask you is please leave me a like, it's very important and I thank you for it, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new updates. Let's begin. Alright guys, so in order to answer the first question, which is what has happened, and most of all, which is the real one, will Alibaba stock, will JD, will Chinese company get delisted for real, and when? Okay, so that's in my opinion the main question that everyone is wondering about. So what has happened? Pretty simple. Wednesday, so 2 days ago, the SEC has basically adopted a law which was already existing. So in terms of is this something new? I mean, is this something that came out of nowhere? The answer, just my opinion, is no, because it is something that we already know. Despite the fact that now media are pushing again that it is not new. So that's the reality, because Donald Trump signed the Holding Foreign Companies Accountable Act in December 2020. It was one of his last actions as president, and what the SEC has done basically is just adopting that law, okay, on Wednesday, kind of like a reminder to China that that act exists and that they are not joking about that, okay? According to the investor place, here they are saying, I don't know whether this is true or not, it is absolutely impossible for us normal retails to understand what's going on between US and China, okay? However, here they're saying that during the recent days, US and China tried to do some talks about the fact, okay, about this, trying to find an agreement. And what they say is that, let's just say these talks haven't gone well, okay? So, in my opinion, what the SEC has done is actually to remind China that the act exists and that they want actually to find an agreement about that because they don't like how the situation it is right now. So that's fair enough. Now to continue to answer the question, will Alibaba stock, will JD.com and other Chinese stocks be delisted? In order to understand that, we have to remind ourselves what the act is about. Okay, so the act that Donald Trump signed in December, it hasn't changed. Okay, so we don't have something new, it's absolutely the same. And the two main points, okay, the first one, which is the one that everyone is mostly talking about, is that these Chinese stocks, in order to be listed in the US Stock Exchange, you need to actually agree and you need to respect these American auditing standards, okay, over a period of time. So this is the first thing. And Chinese companies, they didn't like that, okay, and they still don't like that. They don't like to have a sort of American watchdogs come in actually their accounting stuff, their accounting operations, and actually go on and check whether what they are doing is actually correct or not. Now, you understand that US and China are probably now the two main powers, okay? We have Russia, yes, okay, but China and US over the last 4 or 5 years, actually, they have always been in this kind of economic war, let's say, sort of a trying to see who is the strongest one here. And you can understand that they don't like the fact that one or another go on and actually check in what they are doing. So this is, in my opinion, a sign of power, trying to see, yeah, you have to agree with us. And it's fair enough, okay? If you want your companies listed in the US, obviously you have to agree to some regulations, okay? But they are not able to find an agreement. Now, what the act says, and here is the important part, is that they are not going to delist these companies tomorrow, okay? Because when we read articles, it's kind of like, oh, move on, sell everything because tomorrow they're going to delist Alibaba stock. That's not how it works. The period of time intended is 3 years. Now, Donald Trump signed the act as a law in December 2020. That means that 3 years, starting from there, we are going through December 2023. In that period of time, they will have to find an agreement about these American auditing standards. And the second part of the act, which is the second recast that actually the US is making to Chinese stocks, which in my opinion is the real big one, is that they will have to disclose governmental affiliations. Okay, so if a Chinese company has inside someone from the Chinese government, they will have to disclose his or her name to actually the US regulators. Okay, so this, in my opinion, is probably even bigger than the auditing standards. However, in order to be delisted, you need to pass 3 years without giving an agreement and actually respect what they are asking about auditing and audit rules, and without give actually the disclosure of eventual governmental affiliations. Now, if a Chinese company doesn't do that in 3 years' time, then they will get delisted. Okay, so that is to actually explain you what is happening. So it's not something that happens tomorrow. It's not something that happens the next week. It's something that has a 3 years time in order to find an agreement. Now, obviously, US and China, when you have the two world superpower, finding agreements is not going to be easy. Back in December, what I thought is that with Biden, so the new administration coming onto the government, it will probably be easier to find agreements with China compared with Trump, okay? But it was just a simple idea. But the reality is that the tensions are still strong, okay? So you will not see the tensions going away, and this is absolutely normal. If some of the two gives up on something, it's kind of like showing the world that the other one is stronger than you, okay? So in the game of power, this is what happens. Now, if you want to avoid all of that, okay, so if you don't want to get stuck in this delisting issue, what you can do is to buy stocks, if you want to invest in China, directly from Hong Kong, okay? So you don't buy US IDRs, but you are actually buying the actual shares in Hong Kong. And here I'll try to answer the second question that some of you asked in the comments, and it is, how do I buy stocks directly from Hong Kong? Now, first disclaimer, I do not have any economical interest in actually tell you about interactive brokers. Why am I telling you that? To just answer your question. It is not an easy stuff to do. What do I mean by that? There are brokers and brokers, okay? If you're a beginner, if you don't have much money invested in the market, you are probably using a beginner app, okay? Something like Robinhood, depending on where you're from. The problem is that those brokers, they do not allow to buy directly from Hong Kong. They allow you to buy ADRs, which are the US listed ones, which are the one under attack, actually. So if you want to avoid that, you will need a more, let's say, higher level broker. Probably the most universal one that works both in the Europe, in US, and I think in South America too, if you are from there, is Interactive Brokers. Okay, now this is a more professional broker, and obviously it is usually better if you have larger capital. Okay, so if you have, let's say, I don't know, $3,000, you cannot probably even buy stuff directly from Hong Kong, because the main issue is that there is a minimum amount, okay, of stocks that you can buy from there. So you cannot buy single stocks like we do in the US. However, Interactive Brokers offers you the opportunity to buy directly stocks from Hong Kong, okay, in Hong Kong money. So overall, am I worried about the delisting issue with Alibaba stock, JD, and overall the Chinese stocks? Well, not much, okay. I have to be real with you. That part doesn't worry me too much. Because as I just showed you, you can escape that by investing directly in Hong Kong. And however, even if you are invested in the US ones, you have a 3 years time range for actually find agreements. Okay, so that is not immediate. What, in my opinion, and for me at least, I don't know if it's for you, is my major problem. Okay, so what I am worried the most about is the probe. Is absolutely the probe that the Chinese government is doing, and the kind of huge regulatory issues that the government is giving to tech stocks. And this is actually the reason why, as you know, I have already my position built, but I haven't added more shares in the last month, basically. Everything else I just held cash or invested in US stocks. By doing that, I have obviously reduced my overall percentage in China, not by selling Alibaba, but by actually increasing the US position and the cash position. Okay, so why am I not confident to add more and more and more? Simple enough, I have already have my position. And for me, as of today, maybe this will change, okay, going on in the future, but as of today, I do not want to put more at risk simply because China is a different environment that the US wants, okay? Now, the big disclaimer here, I am not intending to actually offend anyone or judge anyone, okay? I am friend with anyone, I respect everyone, I don't care, okay? So everything is fine. I am not judging two different points of view, two different countries, okay? So two different ways of doing the things and to administrate a country. But as an investor point of view, I think that if you want to invest in a new country, you have to understand the country first. And when it comes to China, it is completely different than in the US, okay? Because US is the king of capitalism. And over the history, you have these huge tech companies which they build empires. And they have a lot of data, okay? And when you have data in 2021, the more data you have, the more powerful you are. And there has been occasions, for example, with Google. I talked about it in the Palantir video, where the government was asking Google, the US government was asking Google access to data, and Google denied it. Now, do you think that in China this can happen exactly the same? So my question here is, before to put more capital at risk, even though I believe that China will do well, even though I believe that long term those companies will grow together with the country itself, But my main question, as of today, with the probe still going on, is because of the fact that the tech stock, in order to grow, like for example Apple did, they need to have a lot of freedom, okay? Now, what am I asking is, in China, is it possible for a tech company to have the same freedom as in the US, okay? Or when a company becomes too powerful, when a company has too much data, too much influence, is this company still allowed to grow, or the government comes and say, well, just remember that here things are different? This is my biggest question. And in order to understand that, I simply am sitting, watching, to see how this probe will end up. Okay, so my biggest warning is not the delisting, but it's just to see how the probe with Alibaba, Tencent, will eventually finish, will eventually find an end, and trying to understand if it's going to be good or bad for them. Okay, so because of that, because it is a different country, because they have different methods, which I don't judge, but as an investor, I have to keep in mind, okay? And that's why I maintain my position. I don't sell anything, but I don't feel comfortable enough to add more, okay? So as of now, I am just on hold. Maybe going on in the future, I will understand better some things, and then this idea will change, okay? So just simple and honest what I think about it, and I hope you find the video interesting, guys. And leave me a comment below, tell me what's your opinion on that. Maybe I can learn something from your comments. Leave me a like, subscribe to the channel, and as always, guys, have a wonderful day.